Bridgette Bogle. I know Bridgette. I love it. I've posed for Bridgette. There's a piece of artwork with my body in it. We'll try to find it in Dayton. She was born in Roswell, New Mexico, 30 years after the space aliens crashed there and caused such a ruckus. Hey. Her first art instruction was from her grandma, who taught her how to draw horses. The lesson stuck, and now Bridgette teaches painting and drawing at Sinclair Community College. So, Bridgette, come on up.
Congregation in a long time. It's good to see all of you. Yeah. So my talk tonight is about making mistakes and success and failure in the studio. And I think for anybody who's been pursuing any kind of creative action, you know that sometimes you go to sleep thinking that you made the best piece in the world, and then you wake up the next morning and the cold light of day kind of comes into view, and you're like, actually, this is the worst thing I've ever made. So I've been working on a series dealing with failure. This is a piece called Mistake Sandwich, and this is actually 2 terrible paintings that got rejected from a juried exhibition that I was looking at begrudgingly in my studio one day. And I decided to sandwich them together with a lovely filling of oil paint to glue the two pretties together so that only the back was on view. And I actually felt like it worked better as a sort of testament to failure than the 2 pieces worked originally. This piece is kind of made in the same way. It's called 12 Little Mistakes, and it was a group of 10-inch by 10-inch canvases that I was actually trying to paint a dozen donuts, so each one was supposed to be a donut. It never worked. I could not get the donuts to come together. So one day I slathered paint across, one of these pieces that I was just working on for weeks and weeks, and I was like, I kind of like you like this. So I covered all of the rest of them, and this series has actually been in numerous exhibitions and won some awards, so it's redemptive. In that same kind of vein of experimentation, instead of just using paint to cover, I've also started using canvas as a method for covering up some of these frustrating works. And this piece called Envelope is actually a piece of raw canvas, which is sort of like exposing the guts of the painting, but it's actually a flap that covers part of the piece and lends a little mystery to what's underneath. And so in further exploration with this kind of cut and woven canvas, this piece, which is called Hold It Together, Buddy, with an exclamation point, is woven canvas that's been tied around and worked over an old painting that had about 12 failed paintings on it originally before I took the chance to actually carve it up. So it was very nice and thick raw material to use. And then I also use this canvas, the colorful canvas, like in this piece, Pecha, which I bought at Joann's Fabrics, which is actually the canvas that people use to make beanbags for the cornhole games, which I learned that day when the lady checking me out was like, "Are you going to be making a lot of cornhole games?" And I said, "No, actually." So in further exploration of this idea of kind of carving and chopping and repurposing and reusing, this piece, Snake Tongue, kind of, instead of being covered, is actually slithering out of its stretcher frame and leaving behind the exposed stretcher bar as it makes its great escape, trying to get to the floor and away. And I kind of think it's funny to show what's behind. It's like this is the stretcher, the raw material, the framing, the skeleton that's behind most paintings on canvas. So it's sort of like exposing what's underneath a little bit. And this piece, Simply Shabby Chic, is in the same vein. The stretcher frame for this work was actually a mistake from the get-go because I broke one of the stretcher bars trying to build the frame originally, so it would never hold actual canvas. So I figured instead I would steal our bedroom curtain and use it as a beautiful floral drape over this stretcher bar that was too weak to hold a regular kind of recycled materials from other pieces. I call this one bundles after one of my mom's dogs. And that's actually thread in like a garlic net, but it's thread from the cornhole canvas. So, recycling. And these guys I call the ruffians all together, and a couple of pieces are about covering and a couple of pieces are about exposing. So bundles is a little bit more like open and exposed, and then a couple of them have more to do with actually covering up, but all of them are about working with pre-existing pieces. And this piece I think is kind of funny because it's just it's a piece of gesso canvas stapled over an old painting. But again, I think it gives a little bit of mystery to what's underneath and what's behind, and you can sort of see like the edges of the old piece peeking around. So, another series based on the same concepts. I had a really, really large series of work called Candy Store, which had 135 pieces, and some of them sold, some of them didn't. So I have some of them just hanging around. I mean, if you guys make stuff, you know what that's like. And so I was like, well, all right, it's time for you to go. Took a screwdriver, took the canvas off, and started using the stretcher frames as, again, another method for playing around with composition and materials. These pieces I call dead flowers, and they are constructed of pretty much anything I can find in our house. Like the sweater of my husband's that I shrunk in the washing machine. Accidentally, I swear. Some gold lame, as you do. Fluorescent fabric, more net, more thread. That cornhole canvas has really, really, really been good for me. And what I really appreciate about this series is that it's taught me that I like transforming that idea of mistake into reinvention. And I know that I'll always take risks in my studio and always make mistakes, so I know I will always have raw material ready for my next series.